Welcome back, everybody. Do you want to do some psychology revision? Yeah, you definitely do. Come on, let's do it. So today we're going to be looking at Asch's study, including variables affecting conformity, and we're going to have some exam-style questions up on the screen. And at that point, you'll be able to pause it, have a go, and then I'll talk through. Okay? So, this is Galbraith Does Psych. Let's crack on. Okay, I do have another video you can find on the channel, just sharing some advice, my thoughts on revision, but in sum, what we're doing today is kind of the practice phase, or at least the retrieval phase of revision, and we are looking at, as I said, kind of exam-style questions. Okay, so if you don't remember anything at all to do with Asch, this might not be the best place for you, unless you literally just want to listen to me talking about some exam style questions on it, okay? But I'm assuming you've done a little bit of groundwork, enough to, as I said, be at that kind of retrieval and practice phase. Okay, so here are some questions taken from and based on the increasingly difficult question pack for paper 1 that is on my website, if you've seen it. At this point, please try to do something productive with this. So have a go at some of them. It might be that you just try the essay. It might be that you're just, you've got 5 minutes and you're going to talk through with a friend, or just think about the first line or two. Yeah, but do something with it. Come back in a minute and I'll talk through. Okay, so you might like to pause the video at this point. Right, okay, so you've come back, or you're still with me? Either way, let's go. Identify, so you're just going to tell me, all right, 3 variables affecting conformity. So the ones that Asch looked at, the ones that are on, remember I'm coming at this from the AQA point of view, the ones that are on the spec, you're looking for group size, task difficulty, and unanimity. Okay, unanimity just meaning whether the group agree or not. All right, so that's 3 marks. Give yourself 3 out of 3 if you got those. Briefly describe the procedure of Asch's conformity study. Now, if it just says Asch's conformity study, I would be sticking to his classic study. I wouldn't be talking about the variables that he did. Procedure, remember, is about the method or how he's done it, okay? So I'm going to say something like Asch set up a room of Confederates with 1 naive participant and had them do a line discrimination task or a visual discrimination task, something like that, involving matching a line to 3 possible options, and he measured the extent to which they conformed to the wrong answer. That's plenty for 2 marks. Findings. Here it does specifically say don't refer to his variables, so you do need to talk about his main kind of key study. But it does say the findings, yeah? Don't miss that, that term out there, yeah? So we're not talking about the procedure or the method. Right. Findings. Depending on which book you look in and which resource you use, you might see some slight variation in kind of the headline figure. Some places kind of talk about conformity overall was around 1/3. You might also see the figure 36.8% quoted as an average conformity. Okay, but there are other findings to talk about. Yeah, so 5% of participants conformed on every single trial, and 25% of participants never conformed at all. Okay. You might mention as well, if you didn't remember all of that, or you felt like you hadn't quite got enough, you might mention how in the control task, so with no Confederates, participants were over 99% accurate, so they didn't really make mistakes. You could also mention that Asch followed up his study with interviews and found that participants privately trusted their own judgment but publicly conformed. So any of that, yeah? But that key kind of around 1/3 or 36.8 figure is really important. Okay, number 4, group size. Yeah, explain. Okay, so this is how it affected conformity. So this is focused more on the findings, yeah? So Asch found that, to start with, the larger the group, the more influential they were. So the larger the group, the more conformity rose. However, this was only up to a point, and this is where the second mark is going to come in, yeah? It's important you remember this. So only up to a point. So after about 4, 5, 6 Confederates, the conformity rate kind of plateaued, yeah? You might have even seen a graph of this, but it's not hard to imagine. So kind of goes up, and then, as I said, by the time you're around kind of 5 or 6 Confederates, it plateaus at around 35%, give or take a few points. Explain how Asch studied the effect of task difficulty. Okay, so this is how he studied it. So it doesn't say procedure, but that's what it means. So how did he do it? Well, what he did was he varied the length of the lines in the task to make them all more similar, so they were more difficult to discriminate between. Yeah, and then observed the change in conformity. Okay, outline Asch's research into the effect of unanimity. Okay, so it's an extra mark here compared to what we've been doing, but if we take the question apart, it just says outline his research on that. So that's a little bit about how it was done and what he found. So, in order to study unanimity, Asch varied the agreement between the Confederates. In one condition, he gave the participant an ally who also said the correct answer, and he found that conformity dropped to 5.5%. In another condition, he gave them an ally that simply also disagreed with the Confederates by giving a different wrong answer. In that condition, he found that participants' conformity dropped to 9.5%. There you go. Okay, final row. Stepping it up a little bit. 2 limitations of Asch's research into conformity. Okay, so we want, a point, explain, conclude kind of thing twice. Okay, so kind of things that come to mind, it's artificial, demand characteristics, maybe deception, this sort of thing. Okay, so what are we going to go for? Maybe the artificial nature is a good one to go for. So, one limitation of Asch's research is that it is artificial. The line discrimination task among a group of strangers does not reflect conformity in the real world. Therefore, it could be argued that Asch's study lacks ecological validity. There you go, that's done, that's 3 marks. Now we need another one. A further limitation of Asch's research is that the Confederates may have been unconvincing. Critics have argued that participants may have seen through the study and displayed demand characteristics. Therefore, this undermines the internal validity of Asch's study. There you go, done. Okay, briefly discuss the ethics of Asch's research. I don't think Asch's research is particularly unethical, but there are 1 or 2 points that you could talk about. So, one limitation of Asch's study is that participants did not give fully informed consent. They were deceived about the true nature of the study, they were told it was a visual task when it wasn't, and they didn't know that the Confederates were indeed Confederates. Yeah. But it's a discuss question, so we're going to go a bit further. However, there was no harm, arguably, done as a result of this deception. Asch's participants may have felt slightly uncomfortable disagreeing privately with the group, but no harm was done. They were debriefed, and the deception is arguably justified because without that deception, the participants would know that it was a conformity study, and there's no point doing it. So what I would probably write is something along the lines of, without that deception, participants would have simply responded to demand characteristics, undermining the internal validity. On balance, this deception or lack of fully informed consent is justifiable. Done. Okay, so an essay, fairly straightforward, outline and evaluate Asch's research. I'm not going to rehash the procedure because we've already been through that, but you've got 6 knowledge marks, yeah, and it is a key study, so, if you haven't practiced a 6-mark outline of Asch's research, as with all the other key studies, then you need to do that so that you can bring it out on the day of the exam. In terms of evaluation, you've got 10 marks left, and I'd be looking personally for 3 evaluation paragraphs, and 2 or 3 of those kind of being a discussion kind of counterpointed thing to get you that more thorough and effective descriptor in terms of marking. Yeah. So we've talked through the ethics a little bit, so you could just wheel that one back out, and we've also talked about the artificial side of things as well. Okay, so I'm not going to, as I said, rehash all of that, but 6 knowledge marks and then say 3 evaluation paragraphs. That's it. Okay. Right, so now that you've done that, you need to do a quick kind of, okay, well, how did that go? So analyse your performance, either in terms of marks, if you tried to do that properly, although that does take time, or just a bit more superficially, kind of, a tick and a cross almost for each box. Was it okay? Did you remember it, kind of thing? Yeah. So analyse your performance. You then need to reflect on, things like, well, okay, I got it right, but how hard was it? Did I have to look anything up? Are there any gaps in my knowledge? All that sort of thing. Were there any kind of styles of question that I struggled with? And then, what actions are you going to take away from that? Yeah, this can kind of then feed back and become a bit of an audit, as it were, into your revision for next time. Okay. All right. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much if you're still with me, and a massive thanks to everybody that's subscribed so far. It's really, really great to see, and I really hope that you're finding this useful. Please do get involved in the comments and let me know what you think, or let me know what kind of things that you want to see in the future. Otherwise, I will just tackle what I feel like when I come to do each video. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. See you in another video. There you go. Bish bash bosh.